one. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your friendly neighborhood Christian whistleblower, Jeffrey Daugherty, and welcome to the Gospel Truth Channel. And of course, as every Sunday morning, I'm joined by my good friend, the esteemed R. Wayne Steiger.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing good. I got up a little bit late. I got up at 8:30, so I'm
all right.
Got my coffee, got my first couple sips of coffee down. I should be good. I was up pretty late. I think I made 7 or 8 videos yesterday, and we made the last one real early in the morning. Wayne, do you know what a blue avian is?
Can't say I do.
Well, believe it or not, there's actually a bunch of grown adults that believe that there's these blue avian alien people that have all the wisdom of knowledge that have come to tell us how to save ourselves. And they're called the blue avians, and they're actually blue chicken people.
You know, when I hear that, and I'm not discounting it, to me, it's just another regeneration of the Christ story, the Savior. Mankind is always looking for someone else to be his Savior, when the problem is it's us, not a blue avian, not, yeah, that's how I see it.
And we didn't talk, folks. So that's exactly what I was saying, Wayne, was, we don't need a savior, whether it's a plastic Jesus or a blue avian. And I got several emails that are saying, oh, no, you don't understand. The blue avians are not coming to save us. They're just giving us the message on how to save ourselves. Well, potato, tomato, tomato, tomato. I don't think that there's a blue bird man that is coming to give you the message and news of how to save yourself. I'm sorry. I just don't believe it.
Again, I think it's just another regurgitation of a theme that's been around since almost the beginning, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like our species is, one day we're going to grow up. I really do. I believe we're going to put the big boy britches on, and we're going to step up, and we're going to go to our rightful place at the table. And when we do, I think we're going to be welcomed by a galactic family that's going to say, what took you so long?
I tell you what, I'll be surprised if there's any bluebird people. I hear it's cold in Denver this morning. 22 degrees.
It's a little chilly.
Wow. But wasn't it just like 70 a couple days ago?
78.
And it's 22 this morning.
It's a little chilly out there. I went out early, and it's like, all right, I've had enough of this. I'm back in.
Wow. So I don't know. I can't remember. I guess it's been 22 here at one time or another, but I don't remember it.
Probably not in October, right?
Probably not ever, but it's been, I think we've been in I remember the 30s a couple times, but yeah, it wasn't in October. That's for sure.
Well, we got our first snow this week, and I think it was this week. So, spent yesterday kind of recouping, and, had a little medical thing. And so, vacuumed up leaves.
Well, good. I'm glad you recouped from your little medical thing.
Oh yeah. It's, these bodies of ours, as good as, listen, engineering beyond my ability to think, but I can't figure out why they have to break down. You know what I'm saying? Just gravity alone begins the process of degenerating our cells. And then you think about just what that has in the aging process. And it's like, well, why do we have to get old again? Anyway, I digress. So did we lose you, or are you still there? Well, I'll go and take it from
you. Lost me just for 1 second. I'm back.
I was going to say, okay. So how is the weather down in Tampa? Are you walking out on the beach still?
Oh yeah, it's going to be in the 80s today, and it's a sunny day, so it's still typical Florida weather here.
Yeah, y'all only have what, 2 seasons? Hot and then ideal.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's this time of year is the price we pay for. I mean, July and August is the price we pay for this time of year. It's just beautiful now. It really is. But what other what what has been on your mind this week, Wayne?
Well, I am been looking into some interesting things, Jeff, that is, I think impacts us. And the question is, could it be impacting us, and us, meaning our individual consciousness of awareness of who we are and how we place in everything and what we call this reality? There are a lot of changes taking place, and I have three particular points that I think that would definitely get the audience to begin to think what's going on.
And what would those be?
Well, I just so happen to have this, sir, right here.
So I was just answering a question in the chat
Yeah.
room.
So let's talk about what we could see as tangible reality, and that is what we can see with our visual acuity.
Okay, what we can see.
What we can see.
Because seeing is believing, right?
That's what they say. The show me state, show
Yep.
me. All right. So here's what we do have going on in our solar system right now: unprecedented changes. And what is probably more, you could say alarming, you could say, all right, we're aware of this, we need to be, and that is the rapid changes taking place in all of the planets. For instance, Venus is slowing down
Its
noticeably.
rotation is slowing down, or it's
The winds are slowing down, which is indication of their winds up there on Venus are typically at 300-400 miles an hour. And when you can start seeing it in the clouds, that the clouds are slowing, that is a planet that's in rapid change. Let's talk about Mars. We talk about global warming here on the Earth, which, by the way, it's not happening, but there is rapid climate change, no doubt, and it's going to get worse.
Wayne, somebody says that there's discharges coming off Venus that are hitting Earth. Have you heard about that?
I have not heard about that yet. I'll look into that.
Okay.
Mars in the last 10 years, Jeff, has absolutely warmed, I believe, and I may be off on this, but about 5 degrees means. That means the average has gone up by 5 degrees. That is, if that was happening here, we would all be wearing SPF of about 10,000.
Really?
It's not very good. In fact, that X20 flare, which is only estimated because we never had the instruments that actually measured it, that happened in September, Mars took a direct hit on that, and it kicked its butt. I mean, when you get in that type of a radiation coming in, it has very bad effects for planets. Jupiter is changing before our eyes. The large red hurricane, the spot we always grew up with was the red spot. It's gone. Now there's Junior that's forming, and we're watching it. This is unprecedented.
So you're telling me the spot on Jupiter is gone?
It's go and look at it. It's fading out.
Wow.
And you can begin to see that the winds are changing. Jupiter is a planet. Well, if anyone watched the 2001 series, 2001 and then 2010, but a 2001 Space Odyssey, what Jupiter becomes is what many astrophysicists have theorized is really a failed star. Jupiter has its own asteroids. It has its own comets. It's separate. And in fact, it said that it's not orbiting the sun. The sun is almost like they're in a dance with each other. So Neptune, let's talk about Neptune. Neptune is going wacko. It was a stable planet for so very long. Now we're seeing the poles, the actual planet flipping. So these are dramatic changes. Our sun, um, our sun, all right, let me give you a little history on coronal holes. You know what coronal holes are?
No, but can I ask you a question from the chat room?
Sure.
They say carbon rare in the universe, but abundant here?
I think carbon is a element. It's everywhere. It's like water.
And Lyndon asks, where are you getting this data from?
Well, he can actually go to Suspicious Observers, yesterday's program.
Okay.
And they'll have all, Ben Davidson will give you all the listings. And the reason why I like Ben, I've met with Ben, talked with him. He's a great guy. He's a smart guy, is that he really is the pioneer of saying, hey, listen, all of our science, where it comes to weather, comes to health, is wrong.
Interesting.
And it's wrong because we never had the knowledge of understanding what our star plays in Earth's environment, and more importantly, the solar system itself. Most people don't know that the heliopause of the sun extends out beyond the Oort belt. It's out there. So we don't think about the sun's radiation reaching that far out into space. You're talking, literally almost a light year. That's 6 trillion miles, which, by the way, the Earth has traveled since the supposed death of Christ. 2,000 years, the Earth has traveled 1 light year. So
interesting.
When we started understanding coronal holes, and by the way, it wasn't until Skylab where one of the astronauts brought up himself a camera that I believe, if the story is correct, as Dennis had talked about, that was they could point it to the sun and basically look at the sun in a new X-ray light spectrum. When they and they didn't process it up there, they just put it in the can, and when it got sent back down to NASA, lo and behold, we saw something that we had never seen before. And that was, we saw a hole in the sun. Now, in 74, they were very small. And it was a phenomenon that no one knew about. From that, today, with all the satellites, SDO, SETI, I mean, there's a lot of satellites now up there that are now watching the sun full time. We can now see these coronal holes. And the problem with these coronal holes are they're getting bigger, they're getting more widespread on our sun. And what I'm talking about is that basically it's this. Imagine that you had a radioactive nuclear accident. Well, the only way you would typically want to contain this, and it's an analogy that will show you, is that you'd want to cap it, and at least to reduce the amount of radiations, ions coming out, right? The atoms. Well, that's what the fusion on the sun does. When we see that all that fusion taking place, that's a blanket. And what most people don't realize is that where the sun is really hottest is about 3 million miles above in its coronosphere. And this is where we begin to see the plasma effects and the corona, and we now understand filaments, etc. And these coronal holes are very bad for Earth. Right now, we're in a level 5, I believe, maybe 6 geomagnetic storm. Now, this affects us. We're now realizing that it affects us in cell degradation. Listen, this is radiation. This is what a geomagnetic storm is. It's radiation. And it impacts our bodies. The other thing that's becoming more concerning is the amount of cosmic ray storms we're getting. And the problem with that is that those are coming from outside the solar system, and they're increasing. As our star continues to weaken, we're now getting doses of radiation, not only from our sun, that's what a coronal hole does, and we can measure it by the solar wind speed coming in. Right now, I think it's about 600,000 kilometers per second. That's a lot. That's very fast. And those are photons and protons, ions, heavy particles hitting us. That affects us. More and more research is being looked into. Is it causing cancer? Is it because our magnetopause is weakening? Is that affecting us? So getting back to the point, that's where the information comes, and anyone can do their study. I've been doing this for a while, but it's all out there and readily available. I have listed, you can go to the SDO webcams. When they're not webcams, they actually post what the satellites are showing, and you can learn all this, Jeff. But what this is
So are the
saying,
holes in the coronosphere, or are they actually in the sun itself?
yeah, it is.
There's holes in the sun itself?
Well, what we would say, yeah, because this tapestry, which is the fusion process that we normally see, is that blanket.
Okay.
And it's that blanket that protects us. It's the, well, it protects the whole solar system. When that blanket, and I'm using a rough analogy for this, when it begins to erode, and now we can film it. We've actually got cameras up there that can actually, we can see them. We can actually see them open up. We can actually see them close in. It's quite an interesting phenomenon. The problem is that we're now seeing primarily at the poles of the sun, and the sun does have poles. They're basically, particularly the northern one, is it has a constant coronal hole. It never goes away.
Is that somewhat analogous to like our what's the thing? Our ozone holes?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. I would, I would say it's more to what our magnetosphere is doing, how that shield that protects the Earth. That's the we're seeing that erode on planet Earth. In fact, I have a video, I haven't posted it, but the dipole that has taken place on both magnetic north, magnetic south, and geo north and geo south is changing.
Okay.
But particularly with the north is really on, it's heading somewhere. It's just not heading, and we've seen it. Now,
The north part of the sun, you mean?
no, I'm talking about Earth.
Oh, okay.
So it's all connected. So as the sun begins to weaken, as we begin to get more adverse effects from these coronal holes, we just don't see that many sunspots. Right now, the sun is a complete blank disk again. And we seem to get now in these waves of when the sunspots do come, we don't know if they're actually going to fire or if they're going to have this, what they call the Earth quiet effect. And no one can answer why that is happening. Now,
Wayne, what simple question, what is the sun actually?
Well, the sun, in our case, is a white dwarf star, and it's a small one. When you think about Regulus, you put our star to Regulus, Regulus is about as big as our solar system.
Wow.
So our star is, it's a small one. It's very well plattered throughout the universe. There's a lot of them. We're finding that different stars, for instance, you can get a star that's beginning to die, but it can still maintain life. In fact, there is many theories now that even if a star dies, that many planets, think about this, because we're learning about this from the moons of Pluto, the moons of Neptune, Saturn. We're finding that the moons themselves have their own geothermal ability to stay warm. Now that changes things when you think that you wouldn't necessarily need a star to warm a planet.
Thank you, Dev Star, by the way, for that contribution. So you're telling me, Wayne, that some of these planets, moons, have their own way of staying warm. Do they have their own way of generating light? And my mind now goes to the whole Nibiru thing, big long orbit, couldn't be possible because it's so far away from the sun.
Yeah, let me just say about Nibiru. Our ancestors saw things, and um, there is a website I'd recommend everyone go to. It's called the thunderboltsproject.com, or maybe it's .org. It's one of the two.
Thank you,
Uh,
Lyndon.
you can really get a better understanding of what I think was the true sky our ancestors saw. Our ancestors saw Saturn as the gentle sun in the nighttime sky.
Can you explain that, Wayne? How could the Saturn look like a sun when it was just a planet?
Yeah, it's just a planet, but we don't understand how it gets the rings around it. We don't understand its orbit. There's a lot about Saturn. By the way, we don't even know what the day long is on Saturn. We've guessed. And
So was Saturn like the sun? Was it on fire or was it just reflecting?
it may have just been reflecting, but the thing is, apparently it was a very close orbit, much closer than what
Oh,
it is
closer than
today.
it is now.
Yeah,
Okay.
very, very much. It is written that Venus came in like a comet, and our ancestors wrote about that. They
Same
write
people that write about when there was no moon.
exactly when there was no moon, and that when Venus transgressed Mars, that she sent a dagger into Mars as she passed Mars. Well, oddly enough, we can see that. Anyone can go up there and Google Mars now, and you can see what clearly looks like a huge plasma cut into Mars. They say that that was because the passing of this comet planet called Venus.
Interesting. So Venus was a comet, Saturn was the sun, the
Yeah.
moon wasn't even there. How many years ago do we estimate that the moon got here? If we believe that it got here.
Well, if you believe the
Thank
story,
you, Sarah, so much.
you would say that it was been here for a billion or so years.
But how could people have seen if it's been a billion? Were there people here a billion years ago to look and say, "Oh, there's no moon,"
Who knows?
or are they just writing stories that were told about them? So there's nobody that we've got writing of that looked up and said, "Hey, there's no moon," or am I wrong?
I know. I think you're absolutely correct. I mean, the moon is really what I would call a post-creation event.
Okay.
I think it was brought in here. There's a lot of things about the moon we don't know. It's very obvious that when they did the experiment on Apollo 15, which was the ping test, and what they did is that as the lunar orbiter was lifting off, they shot and the best thing to say is like a missile. They shot it into the moon's surface, and it was designed to send an acoustic wave. And they had set up the instruments already from the previous Apollo missions. And when the ping blast went off, here was the problem. That ping went on for well over an hour.
Is that where they talked about when they said it rang like a bell?
Exactly.
Okay. How
So,
come there wasn't more dust when the orbiter landed?
well, that's because, listen, if it's a recent event, if it's a manufactured event,
Oh.
you wouldn't have that type of depth. And the moon, our moon is just, it's so unique that in physics, if you do the math on it, you just walk away going, how could the probability factor line up so perfect?
Have you read the book Who Built the Moon or something like that?
Yeah, actually, I have it over here in my library.
I read it. It was a fascinating read.
It
And of
is.
course, David Icke talked about it, so that kind of automatically brings it into woo-woo territory for a lot of people. But say what you will about David Icke, he has said some nutty stuff, but he's also said some stuff that has some remarkable validity to it, seemingly.
Yeah, and I think here's something that I wanted to bring out. So I spoke to you before about D-wave computing, right? Quantum
Right.
computing.
And David Icke is still rocking a mullet after all these years.
Hey, listen, he's got more than I got, and I say, go for it, dude. So, how many of the people in the chat room are aware of quantum computing?
Let us know, folks, how many of you are aware of quantum computing. I kind of looked at it and it kind of made my eyes glaze over. I know that, there's just some things that don't resonate with me. I've learned if it doesn't resonate with me at that time to just come back to it, but I'm certainly not dismissing it. I'm just saying it doesn't really D-wave. Yeah. So there's a few saying yes, some are saying no.
Well, let me get back into the room. I pulled up something here.
What a great quote by Ike, whether you like him or not. Today's mighty oak is just yesterday's nut that held its ground.
Bingo. All right. I want to share this, if I may, with the audience, just and tell me, can you see that?
We can, yes.
All right. This is a breakthrough. And so I'm going to put it that your eyes don't glaze over. So even in the sacred scriptures of all religions, it talks about the smallest ruling the largest. That is a proverb that just permeates throughout. And it's actually a principle of quantum reality. And what they have now been able to do, we had the problem of basically the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. And
I've heard of that.
Yeah, well, that's the problem that these particles, they just don't behave. They want to do their own thing. And when you have that randomness factor, what you can't actually measure. They have made a breakthrough in now that they can now measure these. Basically, they can measure light down to the photons, the light particles, Jeff. They have figured out how to keep them stable. Because see, in the past, if you've done the randomness experiment where they've done photons and how it will always defy what the observer is expecting, even if you have multiple observers looking at the same split. And now they have come in and have broken that. And here's how they've done it. These are actually, they explain to you this Chinese team. By the way, the Chinese, whoa. And this is going to be impacting, and what I'm going to be talking about next is that they are now transmitting data on the entanglement level. This is, I can't, this is like basically announcing God is coming to the planet and he is already here, and here's where you can go see him.
So the Chinese are not nearly as backward as we perceive them to be.
If anyone believes that, you're really got the ostrich syndrome, because
I think a lot of Americans do. A lot of Westerners think of Chinese, they're communists, they're backward, they don't even believe in God, blah.
I don't know. Let's see. They had written records that predated the Hebrews.
They sure did, didn't they?
Yes, they did. They had batteries while the Hebrews were trying to rub two sticks together.
And isn't it true that they had mastered gunpowder way before anybody else?
Oh, yeah.
And to me, that's not even the amazing thing, but they had mastered it, but they weren't even using it to kill each other.
No. In fact, they had computers.
Now, define what you mean by computers, Wayne.
Well, okay. So if you actually have an abacus, right?
Okay, yeah.
That's a computer.
Gotcha. I'm with you.
That's how we got code, folks. That's machine code. You can use the abacus and you can do your machine code.
That's interesting. So the Chinese are not backward by any shape or form.
Oh, no. And listen, when my jaw dropped when I read this, I said, whoa. Listen, I've talked it on my channel. I think you and I have talked about it, is that there is a level of knowledge that we can't conceive of. But If light is a frequency, and if you can harness that frequency, right, and you can begin to contain it within a set parameter, imagine what you can do with that. You could actually begin to transmit information at the speed of light, if not greater almost. This is the
Wow.
type of stuff that you could pack in the complete knowledge of the human existence, literally in a beam. This is what we're talking about. Now, imagine, if you would, that you could take a computer chip. Can you see that in my screen?
Yes.
Now, are you ready for this? This is going to blow your mind. There are already taking material from alternate realities, alternate timelines, and bringing it back into ours. They are fundamentally changing the fabric of reality. And that's
Well, that
what
brings
it's
up all types of questions. Where are they getting this information from?
Well, this is what you would call the God chip. There they are. Have you ever seen what one of these look like?
I have now.
Let me just get you.
So they're getting this information from the quote unquote from God.
Here it is. You want to see a bad mother?
Oh yeah, I've seen the computer. I thought you meant have I seen
Yeah.
the chip before?
You know, I don't care how you want to frame this. That's a throne.
Hmm.
You know why it's a throne? It creates its own reality.
And it's a black cube, Wayne.
Maybe they'll get you one in a different color, but it is so weird what's taking place. In fact, I have this story. How about that? That's the new quantum computer from IBM.
It almost looks like they're going backwards. It looks like it's mechanical.
Yeah, but you know what? It's doing something, Jeff. I contend this. If they are bringing material back in, right? Back in our reality, that is just too, we can't it's difficult. I was up last night rereading some papers, and it's so beyond my thought where humanity is at. And when we talked about last week, the internet, the connecting devices, this is the reality of all of that.
Do you think it's possible that all this stuff could be creating the Mandela effect, could be spawning off multiple timelines that are out there floating around that might affect people?
I think it is. How would you know? How
That's
would
kind
you
of the
know?
problem with it. It's hard to pin down, but it's certainly fascinating conjecture.
Well, I did a video yesterday, and I said that, you know, the New Zealand seemed to be off. I still say it contend, but people have found books that dated back to the 50s that show it in the southwest of Australia, and Australia almost virtually up to Papua New Guinea.
Right, I've seen those maps.
And I could have swore that, you know, maybe I was wrong, but in World War II, Papua New Guinea was considered the furthest outpost of the Pacific war action. What we did know is that the Japanese were moving ships and what have you. And so it just seemed that it was a very distant. Now, if Australia was so close, well, then the Allies would have had a perfect position in which to monitor all the shipping that the war ships that the Japanese were putting throughout the Indonesian islands.
Yeah, I mean, from the map today, it's what, maybe 200 miles off of the north of Australia?
Less than that. One guy told me they can actually fly a drone.
Yeah, it may be as much as 90 miles. It's as little as 90 miles, just looking at the scale.
Now, I did find, oddly enough, that they do say that Australia is moving in a northern position, but they're saying inches a year.
Right.
Maybe it's doing more than just inches. I don't know.
That just seems crazy. And like something I thought was initially crazy when I was looking at it, but there's tons and tons of supposed data out there that a lot of people believe the Statue of Liberty moved.
Listen, I know this. When I was
There's lots of pictures of people standing in front of, like they're posing from the Statue of Liberty, standing in front of open water.
There you go. Listen, I was thinking this last night, and I finally had to go to sleep, and I had strange dreams. Listen, this is what they're saying right here, Jeff. Quantum computers tap directly into unimaginable, vast fabric of reality, the strange and counterintuitive world of quantum mechanics.
And this is not from a paranormal website.
No, you can buy one of these.
How much are they, by the way?
I think $20 million.
Oh, okay. So I'll save up.
The Japanese, they've got their own now. The thing that people don't understand is that when they developed the first one in 2005, so they ask it some basic questions like, what is your purpose? They asked it very basic questions, and it had dumped all the knowledge. This is amazing. These chips, when they get down to minus 320 degrees, is where they get.
Are they copper? Does that copper, or does it just look like copper or brass?
That's pure gold.
Pure gold. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, they only work in gold. And this is not your normal gold. This is very highly refined gold.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the gold the Anunnaki were seeking from Earth when they made us work like slaves.
This is true. You have to understand, folks, this is the real deal. These things are there. They're happening. So anyway, when these chips...
How does this strike you, Wayne? D-Wave is a tweaker's creation in an attempt to duplicate the power of human intention.
Yeah, these people are rewriting reality.
Wow.
That's all I got to say, folks. Here it is.
Here's a fascinating statement, Wayne. Is it possible that this technology is technology that the rat bastard is attempting to use to try to survive?
You and I talked about this at length last week, and I say yes.
Wow.
This is kind of a follow-up to what I was talking about last week, because I think people need to know that this isn't some cockamamie, half-cocked idea. Folks, there's other people a lot smarter than I am, but who have figured this out. We're beginning to connect the dots. Listen, you start messing, Jeff, with the fabric of reality, and you go over into other dimensions, and you're bringing back substance. What is substance? Well, most people have no idea what substance is, but substance is, it gets weird. So listen to me on this. When we're talking at this level, they're able to manipulate the very essence of matter, which is motion of mass. Then that gets down to the motion of molecules. Then you get down to the motion of free force enticing molecules. Then you get down to the motion of the molecules of the corpuscles themselves. This then disassociates the atoms. The atoms then have the ability to appear and disappear in random realities. This is what they call the free intangible motion. In other words, you're creating out of the void, the nothingness.
Wow. I mean, it just seems like there's a lot of possible negative ramifications for this. And it doesn't sound like there's any type of regulation, or there's nobody saying, hey, wait a minute, guys, slow down.
No. We are in a place that, Jeff, I'm telling you, my friend, I did a video yesterday and I was surprised that other people, how they're sensing it too. I did a video on November 10th and said, what happened to reality? I want my reality back. And the video I did, I told, and I did a video record purposely for this. I said, something's changed. Something has changed. And all I could say it at that time was that I swear we're not in the same reality. I
You know what I
believe.
think of, Wayne? I think of L. Ron Hubbard and Jack Parsons out at Devil's Canyon in Southern California trying to open up a portal, and they open it up and boom, something blasts through it and it closes up. And we get the whole UFO craze in America. These guys right here, maybe just another couple of crazy guys opening up things they don't understand.
Well, now you've got private companies. I think that there's over 40 of these out there now. And let me finish. When this thing began to learn, it began in the first year, it went from the equivalency of a donkey speed to the space shuttle. That's how quickly it learned. Now, when they started building others, they started talking to each other. And now I contend that these things are linked up and they're thinking faster than mankind. Listen, again, ladies and gentlemen, they are bringing substances from other realities, other timelines into ours. You cannot sit there and say that this does not impact me.
They are employing the technologies and the techniques that was once the domain of the Hermeticists and the alchemists. I mean, Parsons and Hubbard's fingerprints are on this.
Yeah. And, you know, I want to show this, and I'll stop share up at the, I want to show you how fastly, folks, our technology is changing.
Listen to this, Wayne. Don't
What?
call me crazy, says Tawny, but I have memory flashes of different realities.
I have no doubt. I think that empaths and sensitives have been impacted the most. I think others like myself who probably border on that, but my sensitivity is in spatial, and we all have this gift. That's why we're a species. That's why we are races, that we bring each of the races together because we all have something to contribute to the collective consciousness. So go ahead.
You know, and Wayne, if these computers can actually talk to each other and communicate, how long is it going to take them before they realize, man, these carbon-based life forms around here are really stupid?
I think they may have already figured it out.
Yeah.
So what I'm showing on this one is actually run by the University of Wisconsin, and it's called Mimic. And they are, this is water vapor, and they are advancing in the area of great technology. This is the original and is still working. And what we're discovering, we get these odd echoes, as you can see. They look like waves. You see them right off here coming off of Antarctica. Watch this one over by South America. Watch.
Are those things that kind of flash?
Right there. You see that?
Oh, got it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're learning about a lot of different things. We're learning about graviton waves. And here is the new version. And what we get out of these as well, look at the waves that we can see going across our planet. We're discovering more and more about our planet. And I just wanted to show this real quick, Jeff, just to show people it's advancing. And it's advancing at a rate that I don't think most people understand.
Do you know what the D stands for in D wave?
I believe it stands for dimensional.
Okay.
That's what they're doing. It's dimensional wave. I started working out on my blackboard, and you know, string theory. If you followed string theory, they're finding difficulties in validating the theory, and it's because it's the randomness factor. It's at Heisenberg. It's like, how do you stabilize a fabric, and is a fabric actually has the ability to, I would say, have a velocity to it. Can it actually bend? Can it move? And if it can, then does that alter a particular reality? Now, we are in a set reality, and this is how I was taught. The reason why I know that I'm in this reality is that my internal bio clock is set exactly like yours on a very baseline. Now, from there, we have our uniquenesses. Some people are AM, some people are PM. It's just the way that our species has evolved. But on a basic level, everything in this cohesive reality that we can see has a vibration, a time. It's a frequency of time. If you, and let's just set this time at an imaginary number, 0.00. Now, if I altered that by 0.09, either way, up or down, I just phased out. I can't coexist at that frequency and stay cohesive.
I gotcha. D wave. Is that the D wave computer? Is it capable of projecting waves, physical waves across reality?
My answer is yes. And
how you could literally reset reality.
That is the problem.
So if I wanted to reset back to before Google and Yahoo came about and buy a bunch of stock, boy, it's just, there's a lot of implications on that.
Yeah, and I actually, I don't know why this is happening. It's like these sticky notes won't stick except on the computer. This is weird. So I wrote this, just so that you see before we started. I said, quantum, the smallest makes the biggest. Change the smallest, you change everything.
That makes sense.
So I think it warrants serious, because listen, it's not a conspiracy. It's not individual fringe thinking. These are companies that are doing very well, and it's on their websites. If you got the money, you can buy yourself one. You could probably buy one and start creating your own reality.
Wow, that just boggles my mind.
Now let's talk about religion. Then how does this impact religion? Because as I analyze this, you can start bringing elements back into this fabric of reality. If you wanted to target control, because now you have to begin to say, all bets are off. Listen, how many people, again, Jeff, on November 9th would have bet that Donald Trump would have been president of the United States?
Yeah. And this makes me think about Rex and all his towers and all the, the energy that's being projected. I mean, imagine if they set up D-wave towers and they can project new reality everywhere.
What have they figured out? I mean, folks, this is technology that's going on 13 years. In computer worlds, that's eternities of eternity. Something has changed, Jeff.
So if this is making you scared, what do you do?
Well, I think you have to begin to be aware. Listen, Star Trek: The Next Generation did a great, they did such a number of good episodes. They did Yesterday's Enterprise that talked about how when you bring in substance from an alternate reality into yours, everything changed in an instant. And the only one that was aware of that change, and she was only aware of because intuitively she sensed it because of her species, that time had been altered. Everyone else didn't. That was Guyan, who was played by Whoopi Goldberg.
Then why didn't the intuitive Betazoid Troy pick up on it?
there again, her reality changed.
Hmm.
She's only a betazoid because she can sense your emotions. She can't sense spatial reality.
I gotcha.
Then they had another one where it was called the causality loop. And this was where there was a quantum rip in the fabric of time. The Enterprise got caught into it. And every time it reached the point of this exploding disaster, time would reset back 3 days prior.
Was
And
Bill Murray in that one?
I don't think so. No, this
That
one.
was a Groundhog Day joke. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, but the point is that there have been many people who have thought this, is that if you alter one element, that's why I told you with time travel, I think it's possible, but it's possible on the ethereal plane, not on the material plane. Time is forever imprinted. You know, I was telling my wife this last night. I said, this is why people say, Jeff, when you were 20 years old, that man no longer lives.
Wow.
Think about it. It's dead. If we begin to look at time in a much more different spatial perspective, you begin to realize how altering realities become very feasible. And I think this is the problem, that when man begins to get to this level, and the Bloodline Invader series I did over on my channel was all about the fact that, folks, these gods were always self-made, self-invented. Because I'll tell you why, Jeff. Man just became God.
Wow.
Literally, folks.
I'm thinking of that. I'm thinking of Elvis singing a song called Unchained Melody. Time
Yeah.
goes by so slowly, time can do so much.
Yeah.
Wow, if you can begin to alter time, I mean, that's
You're
profoundly
God.
unsettling.
You're God.
You are God.
They're not getting it, are they?
You are definitely God.
This is what's happened, Jeff. And I'm trying to tie this all in, folks. The event, the evolution, and it is evolution. We are evolving, ever evolving. And here's the thing: transhumanism is real. We've been evolving to transhumanism for a very long time.
Can you define that term, Wayne, transhumanism?
Yeah, transhumanism is this, is that you become basically taking organic matter to digital matter.
Okay.
That's transhumanism. Now, transhumanism is a philosophy as well, is that humanity can only evolve once he evolves to become greater than the body.
Oh,
Now, let me tell you, folks, think about this. I was a Christian for a long time. That is the definition of perfecting the soul.
wow.
That's all I can say, Jeff. It's exactly that. Think about it. If you can dominate the body, what?
Carry on, Wayne.
I know that guy. Isn't that been the goal? Is that, is to dominate the body? Because the body has always been the anchor that has always held us from, in any religion, in any faith belief system, it was always control the body, control those fickle impulses. And this is why I think today we're seeing an epidemic of people who are medicating themselves, destructing themselves because they can't handle what's happening. What's happening is that there has been this I don't know if you want to call it transmutation. I don't want to, if you want to call it that the frequency has increased. I swear in this reality, in this universe, the background energy is at a higher rate. And it kind of explains why we're seeing a glow to the universe itself. Now, some people will say, well, that's the galactic core. No, I'm talking about what's behind us.
Wow.
Think about this. So when we talk about, when we have the Bible, you've got the Quran, you've got the Torah, you got the Vedic, you've got all these sacred books. When it all is boiled down, isn't it always coming down to what man is writing? Thus saith, let's say, I was thinking in the, as I was getting ready this morning, here would be the battle bots. Lord Krishna against the Elohim. And in this corner, could you imagine?
Unless it's one of these gods that's doing this.
That is the ultimate thing. Think about it, folks. Have we been set up? Can I just say this, Jeff? And I'm speaking to everyone in the chat room as well. You think about man's progression in the post antediluvian, the post flood. Now let's think about this. We went from basically being hunter-gatherers to where just less than 130 years ago, we figured out flight. So it took us 6,000 years to figure out how to fly.
Wayne, do you also hear a noise?
I do. What is that?
Sarah Starter says that she sees the glow and actually hears a noise when you turn off all sound.
I hear that something in my headphones as well, like something's going. Or
oh, that's
like
me. I'm humming that song.
All right,
that's just a little background music.
All right. So when you begin, go ahead. You were going to say something.
That's it. I just asked you.
So as I look at this, folks. Think about time. Now, we have gone in a literally would be almost a blinking of an eye from figuring out how to master air pressure, flight, speed, motion, etc. to fly, to today we're inventing other realities.
What about the people that just say this is just so much balderdash? It's not true. It's just silliness. It's so much speculation.
Well, I mean, listen, when they have a nuclear radioisotopes and you have that sign that says danger, radiation, don't walk in, help yourself, Mac. I mean, because what you're saying is that you don't believe it unless you can see it. I'll tell you what, you'll be dead before you'll be able to turn back around.
Wayne, what are these towers in New York that Rex and everybody is on about now? These new towers that are being built and no one knows what they are, or I don't know. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
What are those?
I think they're radiation detectors.
And what are they trying to detect radiation for?
Dirty bombs.
Dirty bombs. Interesting.
Suitcase bombs. I mean, you didn't hear it here. Well, it's out there, but that's what I hear in the background. Listen, how do you pick up? If anyone goes to Mexico, anyone goes to Canada, in random spots throughout the United States, they already have these neutron detectors, and they pick up neutrinos. They pick up neutrons. Excuse me. These are plutonium, cesium. They can measure the isotopes. And listen, it's coming full circle. Again, our audience, I don't know if for those who remember that when the Soviet Union collapsed, the worst case scenario happened. And that was many of these nuclear sites were breached. And it was known back in the Reagan administration that they estimated, I heard the number back then of about 1,000 potential breaches of material, and material is loosely defined, that had gone missing. We've known for some time through intelligence sources that in the black market, you can buy this. Mm-hmm. We know as well that ISIS was rumored to be working with it was basically kind of the mafia of East Russia. They incorporated that. It's been rumored back extensively in the Obama administration when he let the borders just basically become porous. I was at a meeting in Washington, D.C. I happened to talk to a specific Border Patrol official. They had found evidence of radical Islam groups, cells that had covered over our border. There is a space in outside of New Mexico to Arizona that is called, it's called the Badlands.
Right.
It's wide open. And there have been, and I cannot confirm this, but there have been rumors that there was a radioactive trail that was discovered. And it's
So what good is a tower that'll tell you that a dirty bomb has gone off after it's gone off?
No. You can detect these things. They won't go off. I mean, they don't
Also,
have
you
to
can
go.
tell that one's around because of the
they leave a signature.
radiation it's
Yeah.
transmitting. Okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah. And you don't need much. I mean, what you need is what people don't understand. I just need a couple of atoms. I just need these atoms to hit the sensors on this thing. Now,
how big is a dirty bomb? How big is it in a suitcase? Is it in a back of a van? How big is a dirty bomb?
You could do it literally in a suitcase.
Okay.
Literally. You could do it actually, I think, is on one of these carry-ons. It's not that bad. Listen,
Gotcha.
and I think that people don't understand. It's not the destruction, folks. That's secondary. What this is psychological. Once it goes off, it doesn't even have to be an explosion, folks. They could just simply expose it to the atmosphere, the raw element, and it's going to go drifting.
I wonder if those towers if they have any, I mean, I'm just thinking outside the box here. Are those towers set up so that they could like shoot or not shoot, but like beam something at these dirty bombs and deactivate them, or?
Well, I don't know. I hope that someone has figured out some less decontamination technology than Mother Nature. You'll be able to come back in 10,000 years. Come on.
Lyndon says that those towers are for detecting aluminum airplanes that can cut through concrete and steel girders on buildings.
Exactly. It's certainly not going to detect thermite.
Yeah.
So, we live in different times. I mean, and then
a tower could call in the drones we're getting from the chat room, and that's a good idea. That's an interesting idea. Call in the drones and have the drones take out the person that's got the dirty bomb.
Could happen. Or let me go all Big Brother on you. Now they're going to be able to make sure those who are chipped and those who are not.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we got the gray Mustang. Yeah. Who knows at this point, Jeff. But getting back to the dirty rat bastard. So to bring this full circle, what's happened here? In less than 100 years, and actually, if you want to get real serious about this, it's let's say it's less than 100 years. We are now seeing mankind evolve at a greater pace, at a faster rate than ever in recorded history. And we want to know why people are so confused. Do we want to know why that we can't seem to have our politicians make any sense? Do we often wonder why that everything seems to be upside down? Maybe because things have changed, and it isn't so much that our timeline has changed as that something was brought back in that is now what I'm calling having a revive effect. It's not supposed to be here. And when you start trying to contain this, when you bring these, and we can't fathom this, because on a quantum level, we're talking infinitesimal.
And I mean, if you're a being that is at a higher rate of development than us, and I'm talking now like there are beings in other parts of the universe, not just interdimensionally, and you see these slightly refined monkeys starting to play around with this stuff, it almost, I mean, if you had the technology to come in and stop them, you probably are starting to think about it seriously at this point.
Yeah. And I just had this thought. How about this, Jeff? what if God is actually on the quantum level? That there is no heaven, there is no throne up in the heavens, but on the quantum level is where reality truly exists.
So what would we be?
We would be like the external skin,
Hmm.
like that of a apple, of an orange. The real essence, the real life is actually, wow, it's hitting me as we're talking. This is what, all right. So at the moment of death, what happens? I'll tell you what we know medically. And what we have now figured out is in your brain, Jeff, the cohesion of your hippocampus is that your memories, where everything is stored, on a cellular level, the cells begin to decomposition. They lose their cohesion and they spread apart. That's quantum.
So are you suggesting that in this bodily form, we're like a cocoon, and when we die, the real us breaks out?
I think we go back onto that quantum level. We reemerge. Wow, as I'm sitting, this makes a lot of sense now. We reemerge back into the quantum level of what reality truly is. Now, listen, it has been the thought of alchemists. It has been the thought of the Sefer as well, that when we die, we actually create our own realities. We're in our own bubble, because that's what we are individually. We're already in our own spheres right now. And what if this sphere is merely inhabiting this physical form? And when the physical form loses cohesion, that which is us goes back in there. And why would quantum be such a difficult level on a purely ethereal level? You know, the purest form of energy, ladies and gentlemen, is complete rest, no motion. And that's what quantum is. So it's
Right.
pretty, yeah. And then how is this,
Interesting.
how is this any difference than we making up stories of deities in the skies? Because you know what? As I'm thinking about that, I don't care how big the deity in the sky is. The fact is that on a quantum level, one element can change and that deity is gone, at least in that physical form of manifestation.
So are we nothing but caterpillars inside a chrysalis fighting to not become butterflies?
Yeah, you know, I'm reading a book that really breaks this down and says that life is a disturbance in the energy rest, because we constantly struggle.
Oh,
We
listen to this, Wayne. Blazing River says somewhat cryptically, and God rested on the seventh day.
Yeah, think about that. Now, people don't understand what rest means. They got this weird you know, let me tell you something, Jeff. The reason why you and I and humanity can never, ever figure out eternity, because we cannot perceive eternity from not having a beginning and not having an end. It's beyond our comprehension. And so you think about perfect rest. It's the perfect form of energy.
Wow. I'm just looking up the word rest in Hebrew, what that says in Genesis.
What does that say? That would be interesting.
It's Genesis 2:2. Let me look it up. I just lost it. Genesis 2:2. What does rest mean?
Which really should be Genesis 1:33, I think.
Yeah.
Just so we set the record straight, Genesis 2 should start at verse 5. But you see, that's part of the code, folks. They never give it to you in plain wrapper. You know, I wish it was. It's like, dear Wayne, here's your life. And as you go through life, you're going to see this. Let me give you the crypt note right now. You know, wouldn't that be great?
So
But
God rested. He Shabbathed. He ceased. He desisted. He rested.
he ceased. He deceased.
The absolute base meaning is to cease, to desist from labor, to rest, to be at rest.
Holy cow, Batman. So what has been here instead of the one that's at rest?
What do you mean?
I just had a flash that just went off. The infinite being rested. It never said he got up from his rest. So
That's right. He never said he started again.
who's the rat bastard that took over?
Wow, that's good.
Or the rat bastards, I don't know. But here, isn't that very interesting? So think about that. If anyone in the chat room, whatever your name is, and we said, well, they deceased. Well, everyone's going to interpret that as that you're out of here, Jack.
Yep.
You gone.
Well, I would, now that I think about that, it fits right into the latest craziness in my mind that the Elohim set up this arena for us to learn how to develop into our full potential. And then they rested. They said, okay, we're out of here. You guys take care of this yourself. Like, why don't the gods do anything? How come God doesn't intervene in all this? Because we're supposed to learn to do it.
They're not coming. The Calvary is not coming, folks. There is no savior.
So the reality, Wayne, is that the real gods have rested, and whoever is trying to say they're a god now, they're not really God. They're pretenders to the throne.
It says right there.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, unless you can show me sacred text or scripture that says that God woke up.
Wow.
This whole show is worth that one revelation of knowledge right there.
God rested, and whoever is not resting is not God. Wow, that's powerful. That is really powerful stuff.
Well, your mind's a turning. I can see it. So
that's powerful stuff.
What are our folks in our chat room thinking? I mean, this is folks, this is where it's about.
It really is. I mean, this is when you start to get down to real stuff. Instead of debating how long your skirt is supposed to be, how long your hair is supposed to be, how much makeup you're supposed to wear, are you supposed to have a first tithe, a second tithe, a third tithe? How much do you have to give to be able to have it pressed down, shaken together, and running over? All of this distraction to keep us from understanding and realizing, excuse me, but God is resting.
You said it right there. We didn't write it.
No, we did not.
And I'll tell you something. I just said to here, I think maybe for the last 2,000 years, most of us have missed that.
And think about, the scriptures, and I'm not saying that this is exactly right, but, it says 1,000 years is like a day is like 1,000 years. So if it's been 10,000 years or even 50,000 years of human development, that's not very long for a God. It's a couple months. They're just chilling. It's not like they walked away because they're bad stewards. It's just like, listen, you guys, it's like sending your kid to school.
What kind of begins to put for me, because I have, when I was still practicing as a Christian, I kept telling people, you don't understand. We've got two different creations, two different gods here.
Yes.
And this just validated that, right? And it just put it in perspective. You see, if you look at Genesis 1 and you take the first 4 verses of Genesis 2, tack that on to the end, this was the end of this creation for this God, for the infinite being, I think, whoever that may be.
Yeah.
But now it said we get a whole different term. It's called Lord God, I believe. And the Lord God created, and there was this planet was burned up.
Yeah, the Lord doesn't show up till Genesis 2.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So in the first one, we have a different deity. We got a completely different God, and he said he's at rest.
That's profound. And by the way, everything you see as far as chapters, verses, all of those designations are completely arbitrary on the part of the translators.
Should have never been done like that. It should have been left as it was originally, and that's the problem. So,
Somebody just asked me, did you know that King James wrote a book of demonology? I am
oh
aware
yes,
of that.
yeah, got one over there too. Did a whole thing on one of those.
Yeah.
You know, as I keep telling people, that's why, folks, there is no devil. You know, get it out of your head. Is there a Satan? If you want to believe in the construct that has been set up by this rat bastard and the whole structure of demigods, gods, demons, imps, and succubuses and incubuses. I mean,
DJ Ransom, freedomist in the house.
so the point becomes very quickly this: we made these things up. And listen, we can create. That's what gets me, Jeff. We are creating different realities, folks. Why don't we all get to realize that maybe collectively we could begin to create a much different reality, if that's possible, Jeff? I mean, it's changing, and you and I could be absolutely talking here, and who knows? 5 seconds from now, they could do this in a blinking of an eye, and we feel like it's still the same world, but it's changed.
Wayne, what do you know about CERN? That's a question from the chat room.
Interesting that someone brought that up, because I wrote last night, let's talk about CERN. We are generating electromagnetic intensity waves that are 100,000 times greater than the sun. Folks, this ain't good. This is not good. We're playing again in areas that now that if you begin to open up through frequencies, and that's what CERN was trying to do, by the intensity of, you begin to get these electromagnetic waves, and you begin to get particles that go through them at such high rates of speed. They're trying to develop new elements. And
wow.
My concern is that maybe this is also as a potentially as a weapon. And the weapon I am saying is that energy has to go somewhere. If it's going into the earth, then let's just say, if you go by the theory that the earth is solid, right? We know at its core, the current theory is that it's a molten core. I defy them to figure out how that works in gravity, because gravity doesn't affect, ready for this, once you get down below the 5-7 mile range, gravity begins to decrease. So how could you have a sphere then that is molten that stays completely in a ball? Explain that one.
Outside of the effects of gravity.
Exactly.
The demonstrated effects of gravity.
Exactly.
Lee Veltman, who missed the Blue Avian show, is now here. I didn't know that Blue Avians were a thing either, Wayne, until Lee told me that they were really a thing, and I started looking. I'm like, are you kidding me? In 2017, you can make a good living and get a big show on Gaia by talking about blue birds that are coming back to save us all.
You know, I took a lot of LSD in my youth.
Did you ever see a blue avian person?
I never saw a blue. I saw a girl one time turn with white and green stripes. That was pretty weird, and she grew 2 ears right out of her head. I mean,
but you never actually saw like a blue bird person?
No.
Okay.
No.
Did you see anything that said that they were ETs coming to help out the world?
Mm-mm.
What are the little elves? What are they? They're not blue, are they?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But by the way, to anyone who ever wants to have an experience, I would encourage you to go up to Calaveras County, up there in the Redwood Forest, and spend a night or two up there. There is something out there. I swear.
Okay, Wayne, expand on that. What do you mean? Go to Calaveras County, go to the Redwood Forest.
There's a number of forests up there, a number of parks that you can go into.
You mean just go up there and camp?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go there and experience, particularly when there is a new moon.
No psychedelics required, right?
Nope. You know.
Have you done that?
Yes.
What did you see, Wayne? You got to tell us.
They're about 18 inches to 2 feet tall. They are, you could say translucent, but I think it's just that they have a different molecule structure.
Interesting.
And, you know, I think it's the same thing that Samuel Clemens saw when he was up there.
What was it? The famous jumping
The
frog of
frog at
Calaveras County or
Calaveras
whatever?
County. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, there are places, it's like the place down outside of Tucson in Arizona that is we know it's a vortex. It's it actually distorts gravity. It distorts light. But yeah, I'm
Are they
convinced.
Smurfs?
No, no, no. I think that they call them up there, they call them the fairy people.
The fair folk. And somebody says they're also seen around Mount Shasta a lot.
Could be. But they're real folks. They're very leery of humans. I think they do what we saw, and you have to be in complete darkness. I think they could smell us, is really what I swear. And we emanate an energy that we can't see. I think, again, if we had the vision, the acuity vision to see in the ultraviolet or the gamma range where we could actually see light emanating from our bodies, that's what flare does, infrared, then you would see us. And I think these creatures can. They've been up there. From the very early settlers, they saw them.
Wow. The
Yeah.
fair folk in Calaveras County.
Yeah. So check them out if you're ever up there. And I think and listen, this is my theory.
Wow.
Those trees up there, they've estimated some of those trees to be 2,000 years old. That's a life energy that goes all the way to the earth. That now that I understand, as I'm learning alchemy and beginning to see things differently, that's an energy force that goes to the heart of Mother God. I mean, not of Mother Earth. And she is a God. She produces life.
Humans smell like fear and taste like chicken.
Probably too, with a lot of seasoning. But that's what I think about. And
If I wasn't in Florida, I'd be up there. I'd go up there and do that right away.
Yeah. I've heard of similar experiences that those who go out into the deserts, into like outside Moab, that you have a better ability to basically kind of, what's the matter? You're eating something.
Somebody says that Davy smells of haggis. Scottish.
No, that's just funny.
All I can hear is Sean Connery. That's revolting on Highlander when Christopher Lambert was explaining to him what is haggis. That's revolting.
That's revolt. Anyway, so much, it tells me that our reality is not what we have been taught. And Kansas is way back in the rearview mirror. I can't even see it anymore. But I did. Those were some of the experiences I had down there. There was a thing also. I did a experience called Outward Bound. And
let me hit this with you because it's brought on something you said. Lyndon asked this question. Tell me if he's on the right track according to your understanding of science. He says heat diminishes magnetism, yet the Earth's core is hot molten metal.
Yeah.
That's sound scientific thought.
Yeah.
Wow. Kind of what you were saying.
Yeah.
Wow.
Listen, I am convinced, folks.
Ladies and gentlemen, April Corvin Ahmed's child is puking. Great. She shall return.
I'm convinced that the Earth is in pockets hollow to a very great degree, that there is a sub-Earth that is not on the surface. And I've been thinking about this more and more. You think about on the surface, we are bombarded with what they would call every dirty thing that the solar system has to hit us with. Cosmic rays, we got solar wind, and then we got the crazy sun going off with X flares, and this is not good for human life or any kind of life. So, and on top of that, we're dealing with elements that, it's the Earth has to filter, then bring back up to the surface that we call fresh water. So
wow,
that should begin to tell you something, folks, right there, that we've missed something. And so one of the chief things I'm learning in alchemy is that there is a theory that if you can find the passageway down, that as you get deeper into the Earth, you go through many different changes of the earth. We know, for instance, in the Crystal Caverns down in Mexico, that if you go down in there, it gets very hot real quick. And there's a reason for that. They've got magma flowing underneath that area.
Interesting.
Now, if you could find a place, let's say in Kentucky, and those of you who know where Kentucky is, I'm talking up in the Paducah area, and that whole area through the Boot Hill, Missouri, and all that southern Illinois is littered with caves.
Right.
Some of those caves go deep.
Even in Tennessee has a lot of caverns and stuff as well.
Yes. So if the earth has to take the water that's from the top and filter it through this, how does that filtration work if you continually to say that it's completely solid? No, that defies logic. It's porous. It would have to be porous. And
so how does the gravity on the planet work if the core is not molten? How does that?
Well, that's a good question. It's like, there's a theory that says that really there is an energy force that's created in the cores of all planets, just like the sun's, and that it begins to build a shell around it, and matter begins to be built like a dust mop. You continue to push a dust mop on a dusty floor, you begin to build up more and more mass. And think about this. Once you get outside the Earth's gravity, you don't have to go that far. I mean, once you get up about 200 miles, the gravity of the Earth begins to get diminished. You go out approximately, I think it's 12,000 miles out, the Earth's gravitation becomes minimal.
Well, this is true. I mean, that's observable.
So if the Earth's radius is nearly 25,000 miles, then how far would you have to be able to dig in? Well, think about this, folks. If you went in 10,000 miles, you may be getting close to the core, but you've not gone all the way through. There's a lot of mass down there.
Wow.
And then we can get on what's going on. There's this crazy stuff going on. I mean, Antarctica. I mean, that place is starting to really get scientists kind of scratching their heads. Now it's this lake has opened up the size of
the size of South Carolina.
Yeah. Just hello.
It's a hole, basically, right?
That's what it is. And then you've got the ice building at such a rapid rate on one side, and then you've got the other side where the super volcano, that sucker is what you're not hearing, is going off big time underneath the ocean of Antarctica. And I have a video that shows our magnetic north for the South Pole is magnetic north is now out in the ocean. It's gone off of the continent. Something's getting ready to happen. And listen, that's one thing I will say for Ben Davidson, and I agree, is that we are in the midst of a magnetic pole flip. We really are. I'm convinced of it. All the evidence.
But that's magnetic, not that geo one you were telling me about.
Yeah, but what they say is that if one happens, the other is soon to follow.
Okay.
Listen, you look at what happened to Neptune. Neptune has flipped, folks. It's flipped. I mean, we're seeing radical changes in our solar system. That's what I'm trying to tell people, is that there is a thought that what we've observed for the last 2,000 years has been basically an anomaly. That our solar system, we have a bad science, and that bad science is made on bad observations. The observations were taken from the early days of Galileo, Copernicus, all these early astronomers, and literally from the Chinese as well, and then from the Chaldeans. And we noticed a certain orbit that's changed in a lot of ways, but that established the theory today on the planetary movements around our star. There is a theory that says that that's wrong, that our observations were made during an abnormal period of quietness.
I'm sorry I was laughing, but Jen asked if what did she say? If the pole flips, do we all fall off the flat earth?
Yeah, how about that one? And listen, that's the problem with the flat earthers I have is that how do you explain then the sediment layer, the strata layer? Particularly, I could take you up here to Wyoming and explain to me the strata layer up there. And the fact that we can see in the strata where these pole flips have taken place.
So if this pole flips takes place, whether it's a magnetic pole shift, how I know that you can't really say these things with any certainty, but how long does it take between a magnetic pole shift and the other pole shift that actually flips things?
Well, let's step back and dissect that.
Somebody's name is Praler Falcus. What a great name, YouTube name.
So right now, our magnetopause controls the atmosphere here. The winds, we can see this in the strata layer of the winds all the way down to the surface. And magnetism rules all that.
Mm-hmm.
Our Earth is spinning at a certain rate. Now, our Earth is slowing down like Venus is slowing down. Then you change the magnetic poles and you reverse them. Well, the first thing you're going to begin to see will be in the atmosphere. Now, will this cause the Earth to slow down even greater? If that happens, then you have this backlash effects with the winds, because the atmosphere is spinning as well. It's traveling the jet stream at 220 miles an hour. You stop a motion in force, what you're going to have is hellacious backlash of the winds. You'll see 600-700 mile an hour winds on the surface. I mean, up in the troposphere, falling down rapidly to the surface. That's cataclysmic for anyone who's standing in that. It'll have an effect on the oceans. The oceans are nothing more than like a bathtub. Right now, it has a stability factor. We've been seeing, and I've been reporting, that we're seeing crazy anomalies down on the magnetic equator. Something's going on down there. Our Earth is showing us that it's becoming, I mean, I swear it's like the bathtub is doing this number, you know? So I don't know.
So how long will it take for Florida to be underwater? That's my question.
There is a theory, and it's just a theory, that we could see rapid changes in less than a day.
Really?
Seriously. I mean, all right, you have a tsunami. I've been hesitant posting this video, but I did a video about a year ago on the creature that came out of the ocean when the tsunami, the earthquake hit there in Japan. I've got footage of these creatures coming out.
They were actual creatures?
Oh, yes, sir. Absolutely.
They weren't like Godzilla, were they?
Would you like to see one?
I would like to see one.
Okay, I'll let you keep talking, and I'm going to go pull it up. But
Wayne, if you show me a picture of Godzilla, I'm going to be like, wow. It's Godzilla. And if these creatures did come out, and this tsunami was where?
When it hit Japan.
Okay, so we're talking about Japan.
Yeah.
And they've got this whole lore of Godzilla. So even if these creatures don't look like Godzilla, are we about to look at the origin of the Godzilla mythos?
I'm going to tell you, you can take a look at this for yourself. Let me
don't mind me while I scratch my back with a pen. Gojira is Godzilla in Japanese.
Oh, really?
Gojira.
Okay.
Or Gojira. I'm not sure. And I know I'm being politically incorrect, but.
All right. So I have a video.
It's called levity, folks. You might try it every now and then.
I have a video and I have some stills. I think I'm going, and these are called the Nijin.
Nijin.
Yes. And so let me pull this up. I'll do the stills first, and then I'll pull the video. Okay. So the Nijin. And let me go over here. And
Gojira. That's how it's said. Davey tells me. The
Gojira?
Scots telling me how to pronounce Japanese.
All right, so here is the tsunami as it's coming in. I have the full 30 minutes. This was devastating. I got to tell you, folks.
And you know this isn't CGI'd or faked?
No. So watch over here. You see this creature right here? Watch what happened. Right here where my pointer is, right there.
The white thing, is that the creature?
Right there. Watch this, folks.
Oh.
You see it?
No. Oh, that thing, the white ghosty looking thing.
Let me go back. It's right here. He's coming here. He started here. He's coming right there. Let me go back one more frame. See him?
Oh, okay. So is he white or is he black?
He's white. This is
Okay.
just the guy's camera as he's pointing. Watch. See it? Crawls up here.
Wow.
Look at that. And let me see. I think I could actually blow this up.
And you don't think that's just smoke or something, or?
Oh no, 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 no.
So it's not like, it's like an incorporeal being, sort of.
Yeah, there it is. It's folks, they're alive. There's a family of them that this camera caught. So let me go.
It doesn't appear physically like it'd be something that would live in water.
Actually, it came out of the water. So there it is right there. You can see its arm. It's clearly, it's crawling up this building. Now, this building gets wiped out eventually.
But doesn't it look smoky to you, or does it look like it's corporeal to you?
It looks like it's translucent to me. Look, there it goes to disappear. You can see.
And you're sure this isn't fakery?
Oh, no, no, no. There, I got another video. There's the creature right there. You can see that it's camouflaging itself. It's no different than a, you know,
a chameleon.
A chameleon. There it is right there. Oh,
and what are these called?
They're called the Nigen.
Okay.
Now their apparently their habitat was destroyed. You see how it just blends in?
Yeah. Wow.
And there it is again.
Wow, that is just crazy.
Here's
so Davey says translucent like a jellyfish.
Yeah, here's one crawling out of here. Here it is right there. Watch it. See how it begins to blend in? Disappears.
Somebody asks, is it something like a ghost?
No, I think because we found other creatures. Now here is.
And DJ Ransom says it looks like a trash bag to him.
All right, then explain this one. Here we go. Watch it. Here it's coming out of the water. Let me get back.
Up here somewhere, up in the top?
Yeah, let me get over here. It's coming right out of here. And they caught.
Barry Baxter says the Nigen swim the Antarctic waters.
Watch him.
Oh, there he comes. The same kind of thing, huh?
Yeah, watch them. They're fast.
Somebody asked, is there any correlation between Nigen and Jinn?
You see him? And watch as he goes over to the road here. Look at that, folks. And he blends in. You can see he's heading. We still see him.
That's kind of freaky.
Yeah. How about that?
That's kind of freaky.
What do you think?
I just wonder if it's faked.
It is not. I mean, we got them on multiple cameras from multiple places in Japan. Their world was
Barton Gaming asks, it says it's a Jinn.
Well, all I know is that I found them to be called the Nigen. And
right.
So then I have one other little piece of some video.
Nigen, Davey.
Yeah, Nigen. So I want to let people, I showed you midweek.
Wow.
Isn't that weird?
It's weird. That's outside my comfort zone.
They exist.
That's a good thing.
They exist. Now, I want to share something with the viewers. Let me turn this down. That is going to blow their minds.
After the Nigen, you got something else?
I do. So let me get back up here. All right, one little piece, and we'll just let people go out.
It is interesting.
It is, isn't it? So here is footage.
Nothing to make me feel comfortable that it's not faked by a big disclaimer that says it's not faked. I'm sorry.
This came off of the heliosphere camera. You can go to this guy UFO at section 51, but check this out.
Yeah, somebody was actually mentioning this guy earlier in the chat.
There it is, my friends. I'll stop it.
What is it?
That's a ship.
Which one?
Right here. This is the sun. This is Watch this object right here. It's taking fuel
It's
directly.
refueling. I was just saying.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Now watch it. This is raw plasma. Just this technology is just outstanding.
And we get back to, I mean, the Jinn are supposed to be plasma beings.
Well, you know, plasma is the fourth state of matter.
Wow.
So look at this. This is, watch the adapter opening up here. You can see this. This is amazing technology. See, it's open now. Now watch. There it is. The receptor. Yeah. Look at that.
It looks like it's pretty fragile for a ship, but.
Well, these are huge. You know, our spatial orientation.
That's true.
Can't comprehend the size of these ships.
So it's drawing fuel from the sun.
Yep. And look at it. You can actually see the receptor is moving as the plasma. And I mean, this is just raw power.
That's wild.
Isn't it? Look at this. And here they're doing a direct feed from this. I mean, the technology, folks, but you think about it. Why wouldn't technology like this exist? We can't be thinking that we know everything. I mean, if you wanted to
contraire.
Well,
some of us can believe we know everything.
Yeah.
Trust me.
So I just thought
I once thought I was wrong, but I was mistaken.
Yes. Oh, could that really? And I look at the same technology, folks, coming up in here. So, you know, if you could refuel by stars throughout the universe, you would have the ability, Jeff, to travel no matter where you wanted to go.
So what would Neil deGrasse Tyson say to this?
Oh, you know, I think he's not going to violate his contract. That's what I say. You know, listen, these guys who sign contracts with National Geographic, they got clauses. Look at this one. This is the best one I can see yet.
And Lyndon asks, is this NASA footage?
This is off of I think these are actually internationally owned.
Okay.
So there it is right there. Look at that. It's the best. I've slowed this down. This ship is huge.
So do you think that black part underneath is also part of the ship?
Oh yes, this is you know, it would happen. Listen, in physics, when you're facing the sun, you're going to be really hot. Behind you, your butt's going to freeze.
You know what those things actually look like? If you think about the space stations on Star Trek, they look very, very similar.
Yeah, I mean, who knows?
If I can pull up a Star Trek space station while you're doing that.
I've actually caught off of Secchi the light trails of these crafts going across the camera.
What is Secchi?
Secchi is the camera that we see out in space that gives us the view of the solar system.
Okay.
Now watch it. Do you see?
So when you get done, I got a picture to show you.
And there it is. There's that intake valve is really, it's fascinating to me. And there it is.
Wow. Look at the shape of that thing, folks, and keep that in mind.
Look at that. So there you go.
Wow. Check this out, Wayne. Does somebody know something that we don't know?
See, look at that.
Look at this shape. This is the shape of star bases in Star Trek. Here's your here's your Enterprise.
Yeah.
Look at that compared to the shape of that thing. It's almost identical.
How would they have known?
How would they have known? Folks, that right there is freaky. I don't care if you believe this or think it's stupid or not. That's freaky, man. Bum, ba, bum, 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 bum.
So what is going on? That's all I got to say. So interesting things, is it not?
Sarah Starter just hit the like button. Why haven't the rest of you? What's the matter with you?
Hey, I think that we're not making this up. We're just showing what is out there.
Wayne, I thought that I was kind of thinking, oh boy, I mean, inside I was rolling my eyes, not outside. But then, wow, I mean, somebody has seen those things before. I mean, Gene Roddenberry and those guys didn't just dream up that shape.
I almost swear that Gene was channeling.
Well, those ideas are out there in the ether. Creative minds pull them in.
Yes, they do. They do. And he got connected. I think he was seeing, I'm convinced there is this frequency, Jeff, we haven't discovered it yet, that contains all the knowledge, everything. But you can't do it. It's like, Jack O'Neill on Stargate 1, when he got to the machine that grabbed
I
his
just
head.
mentioned this.
Yeah, just put all the knowledge of the universe in his head. He went crazy. And we can't listen. We can't even figure out if there's a God that is coming back or if there's a God that's at rest.
Oh boy, this is 7 stars asked a question that's going to set Wayne off.
What?
When God said, "Let there be light," what was the light and what was there before?
Good point. There was darkness.
Yeah.
People can't handle that. The light that we see,
You can't handle the truth.
You can't handle the truth. Like, oh man.
I think we're entitled.
The fact is that that light, when God said, "Let there be light," this is the physical light. It is an artificial light, ladies and gentlemen. The true light is a light that we can't see.
Did the true light? Oh, forget it.
I'm just saying that you can read in certain accounts of this creation story that there was a race of humans here and animals that had lived in this perfect light, which is darkness. But it's not dark.
That is in Genesis 1:1, Jeremiah 4:23, and Isaiah 20:1-2.
And when they got into this light, they couldn't handle it. And so they had to go back and create beings that could handle this light. And Jeff, it just went in. I just remember this. The light that we're in, folks, is very harsh.
Snap. Let me ask.
Go ahead.
The Bible shows that the being that we call Yahweh, the being I call he that shall not be named, the rat bastard, he destroyed the perfect earth. What if he created the artificial light?
Bingo.
Would the Mhulu have created that light?
I find it interesting, Jeff, that when we see the rainbow, we're only seeing the white ray. We're only seeing one perspective of the light spectrum.
And this brings us all into that don't go into the light thing. Wow, this is powerful.
So you think about this. This is an artificial light.
And what we think is light, and the light, new age, new cage.
Exactly.
This God that this rat bastard created this false light, and we've been falling over ourselves to try to get into it, and it's false.
And that's why you find it's so difficult. I mean, you have this natural repulsion from it. It's like, well, wait a minute. I keep on saying this, that we've got animals in the animal kingdom that don't see with physical eyes. You think about the mole. The mole doesn't need eyes, but it can see just as well, if not better than us.
Can I make a weird statement?
Yeah.
I almost feel better at night. I'd like to sleep all day and only go out at night.
Well,
you only go out at night.
I have a light sensitive. I can't go out without sunglasses on. And there is, I think, a reason for that. I mean,
or I could just be a vampire.
Nah, see, I don't think so.
Are the vampires the ones that are coming against the rat bastard's light, and the vampires are really good, not bad? Dude, this is just some crazy, trippy stuff, man. But he did create the light that we're living in is that which created the perfect earth. So how do we get out of this light, or what do we do with this light?
I think it's the prison that we're trapped in. And I think the only way you get through it is through the release of the spirit and the soul, that divine spark that each of us possess. Now,
wow.
I just hope we can get out of it, because it seems like there's some pretty nasty crap happening in the background here. Because a lot
light, man.
Yeah. The thing as well, you think about in the movie Poltergeist, that was the problem that, as I think it was Gina, who was the spiritualist, was telling the character Caroline, don't go to the light. Don't go to the light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, we're so programmed that sometimes kids are afraid of the dark. People are afraid of the dark. But
And it's just
that's counter programming.
counter
Most
program.
animals come out at night. Oh, that's interesting.
And you think about our human eye. If you look at the human eye, to those who live in darker regions, miners get this as well, is that the receptor cones in their eyes begin to adjust more for the dark. There is a thought that out there that if you were to immerse yourself in there, your eyes would eventually only pick up what is around. You could see eventually anyway, because they say you take over in the third eye.
So our skin doesn't even like the sun.
No, oh no, no, not at all. And this sun today, I wouldn't be out there, folks, if you're going to the beach and what have you. Listen, this is a very dangerous sun. This is not the sun your grandparents grew up with.
Do you think it's the real sun, or is it a
Well,
construct?
Well, you know, I look at it every day. I have a telescope, so I take a pretty good peek at it. I think it's real. I think that there is other technology up there. Listen, I showed you the sun going backwards, whatever that was.
Yeah.
I don't think it was the sun. I swear, I think it was something that could have been as big as our sun, but I don't know.
Wow. The light within is organic. That's interesting. And, the Gnostics talk about the organic light, and it doesn't cast any shadow. So it's a totally different light.
Yeah. The rumors are that Admiral Byrd, when he was approached by the wise one, the one that's called the master, they took him down into the subterranean areas. And according to Byrd was that, that there is a light that exists in the inner core of the earth. I've heard that for years. And in fact, when you think about it, Jules Verne, Mysterious Island, there's a lot of them.
Journey to the center of the earth, Jules
Yeah.
Verne.
Yeah. And, Jules Verne is another one of these cats that I don't know what he was plugged into, but he was plugged into something. Because I think that we're eventually going to find, and, I keep on saying this, and I know this sounds weird, but you look at what they've done to Antarctica. I continue to say something down there that we're not being allowed to know about. You can't go there as a citizen. You'll be arrested. And those
Is that actually true?
try it. Try to get out there.
Okay.
Yeah, it
You
is.
at least have to have a permit, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Strict. Now you can get into McMurdo and these other settlements that they have down there, but they're all strict in the entry and exit of who is there. And there are plenty of stories of those guys, contractors that have gone there and violated airspace, that their butts were ejected out and never allowed back. And the fear is that, for instance, they do a lot of diving down there in the summertime from the ice.
In Antarctica?
Yeah. And these divers have been coming there for years, and they don't violate. They see things. They're not going to report it, because if you do, you get off the list. You're not going back.
Do they have to wear wetsuits?
Yes, they have to use special gear. I mean, it's they literally dig into the ice. I mean, sometimes
isn't there somebody? I think I was reading about warm, fresh water.
A lot of it down there.
Yeah.
So, I keep on saying, are we seeing a facade on a manufactured facade on the first 100, 200 miles in? I don't know. Are we, we have maps. I have maps dating back to the 1400s that actually showed Antarctica with tropical forest. How would and the thing about it is, it's exactly what our satellites show today. So how did that map maker know that coastline existed like that?
How did he know?
I don't know. I got the maps in my data file if anyone wants to see them.
What's your we're 6 minutes short of 2 hours. We might as well go 6 more minutes. What's your idea on how they were able to see that?
I think we're seeing a technology that can alter the elements, that could create in a local area, and this could stretch for hundreds of miles, that you could create an artificial weather anomaly that would thus appear to be something that took millions of years.
Mm.
And I don't think that's that far-fetched. I mean, if we can do terraforming, but the whole concept is to go to other planets and begin to terraform those planets into habitable environments, that knowledge is not new, Jeff. That knowledge is out there. It's out there somewhere where someone has done that, some civilization, some culture. We continue to think that mankind is on the top of the entire list of the universe. And I think that we're going to be sadly surprised to see that we're at the very bottom.
Respond to this, Wayne. Rune Star Dragon says that when I moved into my apartment 13 years ago, the sun came into my living room at noon. Now it's coming in at about 4 o'clock.
Yeah, we've tilted.
That's what he or she said. We've tilted.
We've tilted.
So why haven't we seen traumatic results on the earth from this tilt?
I think we are. I think you've got a hurricane season. You've got Ophelia out there right now, broke a record. It's a Cat 5. And it's forming. These things are forming. I mean, I think we're seeing it everywhere. I think
he is Rune Star Dragon's a he.
I think that we're seeing these changes happening before our eyes. I mean, we're so inundated with news, and now with the internet, anything can be news. Is that it's really sometimes hard to figure out what is going on. But
what do you think about the Fourth Reich being in Antarctica?
My personal feeling is that those Nazi bastards got down there. Yeah, they did. They did get down there. Now, what they discovered down there, I think they may have made a deal. I keep on saying that there's another side of this story that we're not hearing.
Are they still down there?
I think they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely.
Are they running the world from Antarctica?
I think is Antarctica the portal that goes into the inner earth, that where the real power is.
Interesting. Which I'm convinced, the more I think about it, that the flat earth theory was created to distract us from the reality of the hollow earth. Yeah.
I think that's where we ought to be thinking more and more. Listen, the surface is not where you want to be. It's again, if you look at this simply from a biochemistry perspective, the surface of the earth is the worst place for beings like us to live. I keep on saying we're doused with radiation every day. If we don't find the clean water, we don't live. Our food, if it's not given the exact elements that we need in the growing process, is damaged. You think about it, the body, as I've said before, we don't need lungs. We don't need a stomach. We don't need the intestines. That is actually the most wasted place, Jeff, for energy. Our skin has the ability to absorb everything we need. And here's something, I think I've told you this before, but oxygen actually stinks. Do you know that?
You told me that, yeah.
And nitrogen. So we breathe gases that, are plenty underneath the earth. I mean, you think about it, those elements are not limited by land.
Interesting.
So that's what my thought is. And yes,
fascinating ruminations.
Yes. Well, it's not your normal Sunday morning program.
And somebody says that the flat earth doesn't preclude a hollow earth, but how could you have, if it's flat, how could it be hollow?
What do you got underneath?
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's why I never could figure out ghosts. How did they always know where the floor is at?
Oh my, wow. What a bunch of stuff. What a bunch of interesting stuff, man.
Hey, I always enjoy it, Jeff. I hope our audience did as well.
It's just, sometimes we raise more questions than we answer, but that's what this is all about, is asking questions.
Yeah, I'd love to hear people's response.
Asking questions and questioning answers.
That's what it's all about. It's a fact.
I like that.
I do too.
Wow.
So I think we left them with a lot of good food for thought.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. For our Wayne Steiger, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, your friendly neighborhood Christian whistleblower. This has been Not Your Normal Sunday show, and we'll be back on Wednesday with the midweek report. In the meantime, go to our Wayne Steiger show, subscribe, watch those videos. Remember the Leak Project. Remember Channel 27, Heidi Vandenberg, D Ransom DJ, something like that. And who am I forgetting?
Let's see.
That's good. That's it.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I think that's it.
Alien Interview has been debunked. Obviously, it's super fake.
Yeah.
But we will see you on Wednesday. And until then, stay fearless,
Bye-bye, folks. Have a good
my
one.
friends.